It's worth remembering on a Sunday that you are permitted, in fact, expected to do works of charity, even on a Sunday. Scriptures make that pretty clear. And so, my point in doing this one this morning is to give you an opportunity to do charity if you are capable of doing so. Because, as you might be aware, there were some rather severe storms that hit the Southeast this past week, or actually about a week ago now, more than a week ago. And the response from the authorities has been abysmal, to say the least, though their relevant agencies have started showing up in some of these places and attempting to take the goods people are sending as well as some of the money they're sending. So it to for their own purposes. This is this is nutty beyond this is corrupt, it's evil what they're doing. And I'm going to show you today a few places you can give that you don't have to worry about it going to supporting the evil programs of the secular authorities. And you have to worry about that because, as somebody who emailed me last night pointed out, it in the news it came out that there was the reason they don't have the money to give, the government doesn't have the money to give to the people in need directly, is because they sent it all overseas, or they used it to give to we'll call them the new would-be Americans, right? Not allowed to criticize that topic on this platform, but I think you understand who I'm talking about. And the major recipient of those funds for that was Catholic Charities. I would say I would hope the bishops are watching or get wind of that and take the appropriate action, but quite frankly, most of the bishops are complicit in this. Now, if you're watching this live stream or this video later, I don't expect almost anybody to watch this one because whenever I do ones like this, nobody ever tunes in. So if you are watching this, I commend you, and I hope that you are in the mood to do some works of mercy because our Lord commands us to do those. We'll start with the list Lepanto Institute put out. By the way, I will have a personal update at the end of this live stream. So, but here is the list that Lepanto Institute put out quickly. I can add a few things to this for things that I have found that are generally safe for giving for like in the short term kind of giving. Can't vouch for everything in the long term. I wouldn't necessarily, when this passes, continue to give anything to these organizations because some of them are Protestant organizations. And while I have no doubts that if you give them something to go help people in the immediate need now, I don't know what happens when this passes and if you give them money, what they're going to do with it. So here is their story. 6 organizations to support for the current event relief efforts. And what they talk about here is, how there's lots, like billions of dollars in property damage. AccuWeather says it could be up to 110 billion. Given the area we're talking about, that's likely. And also being aware that there's a Category 3 storm headed towards Florida next week. Thankfully, they have a governor there who seems to know what he's doing to prepare for the thing. And it looks like he's preparing to not get any government assistance at all. So that's good. This is worth noting here. Catholic Charities is fundraising on what happened, but many well-informed Catholics wish to avoid contributing to our organization committing to bringing redacted into this country for federal funding. As a result, we've been asked by a large number of people for recommendations on where to give. And so I've got a couple different lists here, and you're going to see a lot of overlap, right? One is, of course, the Cajun Navy, or not known as Pinnacle Search and Rescue. They go and independently bring supplies to those in need, going to some of the most hazardous places. They formed in 2005 after Katrina. Hundreds of volunteers with boats assist with the rescue efforts to help people who needed the help. They've, since 2005, have done this pretty much after every major storm. They are a trustworthy group who does not seem to support evil things outside of their work, which is weird that you have to qualify things that way, but that's where we are. So Cajun Navy is a secular group. There is a Catholic group on here. I will name them, and I'm going to point out something I pointed out after the tornado that hit my town, by the way. But 2 is Operation Airdrop. Their mission is to respond swiftly and effectively in times of crisis, ensuring the essential supplies reach those in need when traditional ground transportation is compromised. That's a very nice way of describing the situation where they're dealing with. They have a team of volunteer pilots who fill the gaps in emergency response efforts, delivering life-saving supplies such as food, water, medical necessities, personal hygiene to isolated areas. And I believe it was that Secretary Buttigieg did actually lift some of the air restrictions for so that this group and another could do it after Elon Musk very politely asked him on Twitter to do so. And he actually got a response. And so it was a nice cross-partisan sort of engagement to help people. Yes, Lepanto Institute is endorsing Samaritan's Purse in the short term. So here's what they say, quote, Samaritan's Purse is a Protestant evangelical organization that was founded for the dual purpose of giving aid and relief to those in great need while preaching the gospel. Put an asterisk next to that. As a Catholic organization, we cannot endorse the preaching done by Samaritan's Purse, but their work in disaster relief is solid and free from any attachments to the sacrifice to Moloch, to that and to all the other evil sins of the flesh that a lot of self-described Christian groups support, including Catholic Charities, by the way. We are currently still researching Samaritan's Purse and to what extent its Protestant evangelizing efforts are funded through donations. But on a short-term basis, there's your caveat, short-term basis, Lepanto Institute feels comfortable promoting its emergency relief efforts. Again, in the context of this specific event, they feel comfortable with that one. Currently, Samaritan's Purse is deployed a 20-bed emergency field hospital designed as an emergency room triage unit. They are doing search and rescue, providing oxygen in different locations, support those who have power at home, and those sorts of things. They have operations on Facebook, links there. Then you have Mercy Chefs. They were like the Cajun Navy, founded after Katrina. They basically go and cook for people who need it. And if you've been following the story at all, you understand that that's a big deal in this one. They can do up to 20,000 meals a day for those in need, as well as the first responders. They wrote that it distributed meals to Marshall, North Carolina, and Hendersonville, North Carolina. The people who we served haven't had access to fresh food and water in days. This on top of experiencing the irreparable destruction done to their home, and also experiencing the total lack of government response. And then this one's an odd one, the West North Carolina Regional Livestock Center. It is actually a civilian disaster response. They normally are a local marketplace for farmers, buyers, and brokers of livestock. They partner with the Civilian Disaster Response Organization, where they've been working to provide food and supplies to those who experience the event. The Martyrs Walk is the Catholic one. It's a Catholic organization dedicated to building strong Catholic men of faith through an in-person experience of virtual martyrdom and rite of passage. The retreat is best described as an Ignatian retreat meets military boot camp for men that includes mental, physical, and spiritual exercises and trials that push men beyond their perceived abilities. While this may seem an odd recommendation for relief efforts in the wake of the event, the men on the Martyrs Walk are gathering emergency supplies and planning to convoy out of Charlotte into the areas of western North Carolina hit hardest. They're bringing chainsaws, trailers of supplies, a bobcat, and other much-needed supplies. So that's a Catholic one. I'm going to, excuse me, I'm going to expand this a little bit, and I'll show you where I got some of this information from. Yesterday, I made the mistake before my live stream of watching, this video from a channel called Truthstream Media. Don't necessarily endorse everything they talk about on there, and it's morally bad stuff they talk about, but they dig deep into things that most people aren't talking about. And they have part one of a video on what's happening with that event. I watched it yesterday before doing my live stream, and that's why I was pretty visibly angry. But here they have a wonderful list of sources here. You'll see they have the Samaritan's Purse, United, Cajun Navy, Grindstone Ministries, and I'll show them in a second. And they also have the Y'all Squad. Now, if you're not familiar with the Y'all Squad, Ryan Hall has his channel. A guy named Ryan Hall has a channel named Ryan Hall Y'all. He's a weather YouTuber. Doesn't do politics, doesn't do any of that stuff. He just gives you the weather. During my tornado event, he was live streaming and with a bunch of other weather YouTubers who are all trained meteorologists, right? And the day after, the next morning, the Y'all Squad, as they call them, were in my town giving out supplies. The Y'all Squad is a nonprofit he runs. People donate money. I think all of his live stream, when he does a live stream, all of his super chats go to that organization, and then they rush out to tornado and hurricane areas to give people water, sanitary supplies, food, that kind of thing. they are safe to give to if you would like to. And I do recommend his Weather Channel, Ryan Hall Y'all, because it's very good weather coverage. I tend to watch a lot of it during the months of about maybe late March to early April through early June, because in Oklahoma, you have to pay attention to the weather, as well as, of course, to my local weather guys. They also, this channel also listed Operation Airdrop, and of course, the Mountain Mule Packer Ranch. Now, if you're not familiar with those guys, they take mules and they go up into the mountains, and they take mules into the mountains with supplies to give to people directly. We're talking about terrain that has no roads anymore, and terrain that was originally settled with mules and horses and things. So they're getting back to basics. They're another good one to give to, at least for that in the short term. But I want to show you Grindstone Ministries, and I'll put links in this. I'll do a special show notes at returntotradition.org, so you can have links to all this stuff for yourself, including that video if you really want to know. Operation Grindstone. This is a Protestant organization based right here out of the state of Oklahoma. They founded in 2019, provide disaster relief and construction services. They're going to be very busy right now to those most affected by devastating storms. Their disaster relief missions are mainly focused on the 10 states in the middle and southern U.S., Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, Kentucky, and Tennessee. However, they are definitely there in North Carolina right now. They do things like they partner with other groups to get the labor, materials, and equipment when the Father provides the opportunity. So this is an explicitly like Protestant evangelical organization, and you're going to notice I'm talking a lot about Protestant evangelical organizations here. Now, this organization doesn't do evil things with the money. I don't know, again, in the long term, what they do with evangelizing. So I will just err on the side of like the Lepanto Institute's logic on this. The reason I can't point to you more Catholic organizations is because, as far as I can tell, they don't exist. Because Caritas isn't doing anything in this storm. There's another big Catholic international organization that does this stuff. I think it was Indonesia in 2004, or the Philippines. Wherever that 2004 tsunami was, they were there. But none of those groups seem to be operating in North Carolina. And I noticed this problem after my own tornado in 2023. We're almost to 2 years now. And that's after that tornado. There was a Catholic Relief Services was briefly out there, or Catholic Charities was. They had a little thing in actually the old university I used to work at in their gym, but they were far away from where everybody was. I mean, people found out about it through word of mouth, but otherwise in the actual areas where our relatively small tornado went through, the business district of town and through the neighborhoods, it was overwhelmingly Protestant organizations, as well as the relevant federal agency was parked there, but no Catholic organizations. In fact, as far as I can tell, there are no Catholic response organizations like Grindstone Ministries or the Cajun Navy or anything like that. The closest is the Martyrs Walk, what they're going to do, and I think that they're doing it because they're located relatively close to where things happened. And I would do something about it because my background's in public administration. My training is in that and a lot of nonprofit management stuff. But to start an organization like that, you need the backing of a billionaire. That's what you need. And as far as I've seen, Catholic billionaires are spending their money on other things related to the church. And this is something that they desperately need. I mean, you need tens to hundreds of millions of dollars to start an organization like what I'm talking about. And it's really unfortunate. This is not a give, send, go kind of situation. You're not going to raise the money for that through give, send, go. Damien, I'm not even going to put that on screen. I can't. One, because I don't know how responsible it is to even promulgate that idea, because I am definitely not convinced about that. But the other thing, Damien, is they're cracking down on what they call misinformation about this. But what about giving to the Red Cross? Yeah, the Red Cross gives to evil causes all the time. Like, all the time. So I would, even for this specific thing, I would be wary. We're talking sacrifices to Moloch and things, that kind of stuff. They are definitely part of that problem. Miriam, I'll give a personal update here in a couple minutes. Pardon me again. I mowed the lawn yesterday and it was all powdery stuff, and now my body's not reacting well to it. But so please consider, if you are able to give to any of those organizations in general that I've listed. I will try to put them again, maybe in the comments. We'll see if that works. Our hosts have a wishy-washy relationship with external links. I think in this case they might be okay with it. I may also put them as a special show notes at returntotradition.org. Again, for those who are watching this one today, congratulate you. I don't expect very many people to watch this one, because whenever I do ones like this, people don't watch it. So congratulations to you if you did, because it shows you have an interest in things outside necessarily our own little bubble. Our Lord commands us to love our neighbors and to help those in need. And so to do that, I'm also going to show you another option here, because I didn't show it yet. From somebody posted this on Twitter, and this is absolutely true. I posted it to my Facebook. A good address that small non-government teams are using as essentially a mail drop, and that Amazon will deliver to. Okay, there's the address there on screen. Verify that that's true. And just to show you that I'm not asking you to donate and that I'm not willing to. This is not for virtue signaling purposes. This is just me putting my money where my mouth is. I ordered this stuff to be sent to that address. One will be. I don't like the fact that one of those is arriving that late, but it's nothing you can do about it. But in about 4 days, you're going to be getting. They're going to be having some things that they desperately need. I erred on the side of things like things for sanitation and some formula and diapers and things, specifically of what they asked for, which along those lines, including, again, you'll see what they are asking for are preemie diapers, size 7 diapers, chuck pads. I'm not sure what that is. Colic-friendly formula, distilled water. That's for like CPAP machines and things. Bug spray and any kind of medication. People are getting sick from the wet, cold, unsanitary conditions. Okay, so this is it. Yes, it's a Baptist church, but again, you can see in that picture right there that it's literally just a package. The mail is being delivered there, and then people are just picking it up and going off to the affected areas to deliver it themselves personally. And for those who might be wondering, are they able to do it because the federal authorities are getting involved in trying to seize things? The sheriffs, several of the sheriffs of the affected areas in North Carolina have said that they will arrest anybody from the government trying to interfere in the delivery of things. Now, I know some people have said, well, in that state, the sheriffs are chosen by the governor. The governor is part of the party of Moloch, and they're definitely not doing things. Well, I'm going to remind you of something here. We're 1 month away from the people of this country getting to decide if they like the direction things are going or not, and making their voice heard on that. And here's a very basic reality for you. While the rest of the country seems to be tuning it out in terms of media, in North Carolina, that is not the case. And in North Carolina, there are people who live in places unaffected by this who know people who are. And do you believe that independents and anybody with a conscience are not incensed by this and are going to make their voices heard in that state in a month? Especially since the early participation process opens in just a few days. They are going to be very angry about this. And so the sheriff is going to be acting. Now, on the other part of that, that's a key, is the state legislature has a supermajority held by the GOP, and they're going to be making sure that those people in those affected areas can participate in the coming contest in a month, because that's what they're meeting for on Wednesday. They have a supermajority, and a supermajority means in states where the governor has a veto, the legislature, if they have a sizable enough majority and get the correct number of votes, can override his veto. And I guarantee you that they're going to at least try to go that far. We'll see what happens. So don't spend too much time worrying or being anxious about that. Instead, focus your thoughts more on the helping people out part of this. So after this live stream is over here in a few minutes, I will post all this stuff in the pinned comment, and I'll try to do a special show notes for this live stream here in just a few minutes. Female Casey Rose fan, is that or our host censored it? That could very well be the case, because the stuff he was saying in there was the kind of stuff that you can't talk about on this platform, even in comment sections. I tell people to please exercise some discretion when they're here, because that way I don't have to go through my my video comments later, because they show me ones that they set aside, that they hide, at least some of them, because sometimes they hide them and won't even let me see them to do anything about them, and then I can't sometimes manually approve them. There's a priest who comments on my videos and frequently gets his set aside, and then I have to go and manually approve them, and he sends me an email to see if he can, but oftentimes it doesn't happen, where I can't even see them from a lot of people, and then I get accused of doing it, and I'm not, and I'm sure if you're trying to lead somebody out of the church, yeah, you're gone. But otherwise, I try not to do that stuff very often. Sharon Felton says, I saw a group called Beards and Bikes. Yeah, see, I'm not familiar with that group. I didn't see anything listed about them, but Laura says, traditional Catholic, or my niece is in the area that was affected and was not prepared at all. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of cases of that. There's a story in the Old Testament of Joseph filling the grain silos, being warned by the Lord to fill the grain silos because bad things were coming, and he was prepared for it. God's people got through the event because they were prepared for it. It's typically the part of scripture cited by those who believe in preparing for such things, to be prepared for such things. For some reason, there's this weird idea among Catholics that, well, we should just accept whatever horrible thing comes, even if we know it's coming, and God will provide. Sometimes what God provides you is awareness and then the free will to do something about things. That doesn't mean you should, go panic buying or things like the people who were buying toilet paper and water because the longshoreman issue this past week, that just surprised me, because toilet paper is usually made in the United States. So is bottled water. In a time of like that, where there's the ports might be closed, you don't go buying stuff made domestically. You don't do it. There's no reason to do that. But prudentially buying things that might be made overseas, that's fine, but don't panic buy. There's no reason to have mountains of things going on for something stockpiled in your house like that. But on the same time, if you know an event is coming, like if you're in Florida, knowing something is coming, take the prudential action, please. Please do so for you and your neighbors if you can. All right, if there's any thoughts on this in the comments, here's the personal update. We had another false alarm yesterday. My wife described something happening with her that made it sound like she was going into labor. So we went in. The nurse who examined her was a little surprised that she wasn't, because the way she described things. So there we are. That's basically the personal update. For those who might be watching who wonder about the Give, Send, Go that the viewer did for because of this pregnancy, I have a contractor with an estimate who finally gave me an estimate on the build we need to do. And hopefully that'll get started in December. By the way, Give, Send, Go, like GoFundMe and others, are nonprofit organizations, and you can actually write your donations off on your taxes if you take deductions. If you manually do your deductions like that. So make sure to keep those receipts. They can help you out when you're filing your taxes. Raven Ray says, I'm surprised that some states in the U.S. outlaw rainwater harvesting to store extra water. Well, yeah, and you'll notice that those states often lean in one way, almost overwhelmingly politically. The party of let's control everything you do. The government has the say in everything you do in your life. That's what they do. I don't understand why people are okay with it. All right, folks. We are I'm going to wrap this up because I have to get ready for Mass, take my family to Mass this morning. And so prayers for my wife during her actual, during these last few days. She will be induced if our child has not come by the 9th. So, although I kind of expect her to go into labor tonight, that's just kind of where I suspect things are going to go, because our kids have all been born really close to or on major feast days. So let me know what you think of all this in the comments. If you found this list helpful, I'm going to post these things here shortly after this live stream. So please pray for everybody in the affected areas and pray for the church. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.